it's Liz from the Peacock Homestead, and in this week's video I'm going to be making some plum sauce and steam canning that up. I purchased 5 quarts of plums from the Amish and I'm super excited to show you that. I also made an oregano tincture and a vanilla extract, so I'm stocking up on those things. We're picking some elderberries as well as doing some planting and of course cooking from scratch. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, let's get into the video. This week the Hubs has been working really hard in getting all of our fruit trees that we ordered from Gurney into the ground. So we've got all of our supplies gathered up. We purchased some dirt, and for the blueberry bush we had to even pH the soil and the water. So this here is a plum tree, and we got that ready to go in the ground. And over by the well, we decided that we were going to plant our grapevine. And I don't know if it's going to be a permanent spot, but I think it'll do for now. So we got some soil in there already, and that's where that's going to go. And then over here, we have our blueberry bush. So this whole garden bed is going to be for our blueberries next year. And that's what that looks like. And I can't wait to get some blueberries off this plant. So right now we just have the water pH'd and everything, and we're going to get that in the dirt as well. Right here we have our pear tree, and the deer got to a little bit, but it's doing really well. We have it guarded from the deer now, but hopefully in a few years we'll be able to get some pears off of this tree. Right across from the pear tree we have our apple tree, and I've been putting some comfrey leaves down against the soil, so that'll be a nice fertilizer for that. But we'll have to guard these from the plow, so we'll have to figure something out. But I hope they do really well, especially with all the TLC we've been giving them. Here is the grape all planted. I'll probably have to get a nice little trellis for it, but hopefully it'll grow all around that well. The Hubs is just getting the blueberry bush planted, and he's done such a good job getting all the right soil to the perfect pH. So really excited about this blueberry bush. Hopefully it'll do really good next year. And I plan on getting some strawberries. I want to make one of these beds a strawberry bed. So that is one of our plans this year. And I just wanted to show you that I got an acidic bag of soil. It's organic and natural, so it's for acid-loving plants. Hopefully it'll do really well. All right, he's got the plum tree all planted, and it's all level, so it's perfectly straight. And now he's going to put the stakes all around it and a nice fence just to guard it from the critters. So while he was planting, I decided that I was going to harvest some of my elderberries, and I'm going to pop these all in the freezer in garbage bags, and then it'll be easier to take off these humongous umbels, and then we will make some elderberry syrup, hopefully in the next video. We actually harvested 2 of these bowls, and they are awaiting in my freezer to make my elderberry syrup. This week we also made 2 loaves of sourdough bread and a batch of bagels. And here I'm just showing you that it's nice and puffed up, so they are ready to be rolled out and get going on cooking those. I usually make 2 loaves for the week and a batch of bagels or English muffins, and that we can do sandwiches with. We do breakfast toast. Sometimes we'll do French toast casserole, and then we'll make croutons with the bread. But there's so many different things you can do with the bread. So these bagels are ready to go in the oven, and then we can use these for breakfast sandwiches and just a snack. And then my bread, I have that in the bannetons, and I'm going to let those rise for at least 6 hours, and then we're going to score them and pop them in the oven. And I like to just keep my sourdough starter in the fridge all week. What I do is I just feed it once a week, and then I take it out throughout the week and use it in different recipes. On this night, I decided to do a slow cooker meal just to make it easier for us. I decided to put a roast in there with a jar of chicken bone broth, and I put an onion and garlic in there, as well as a packet of beef stew seasoning. And I let that cook for about a good 4 or 5 hours, or until it was nice and tender. And I'm going to pair that with some roasted veggies from the garden. So I'm going to use the beets that I had stored in the fridge, as well as some baby carrots. All right, one of the loaves of bread is all finished. I'm going to let that cool, and then I'll vacuum pack it and put that one in the freezer. And then we will get this one in the oven. So I'm just going to score it and pop it in the oven. While the bread is baking, I wanted to use up some of the leftover puree pumpkin that was in my fridge. And I'm just using my Homestead apple banana bread recipe, and I'm doubling it. And I'm adding raisins to the mix. So this actually turned out really tasty. I didn't think that raisins would go with pumpkin, but it sure does. It's like a big hermit cookie. It tastes really amazing. So I'm gonna pop these in the oven. I got the oven down to 350, and I'll cook these for about 60 minutes. I got both loaves all cooked, and I'm just gonna let these cool, and then I'm gonna pop one in the freezer, and then we are gonna enjoy one for the week. And sometimes it just depends on if we use one loaf for the week, or if I do things like make dinners with it, and then I'll end up using both for that week. So it all just depends. And these are the carrots from our garden that I was going to roast with dinner tonight. And I have a couple beets that were left over in there. And I just grabbed the ones out of the refrigerator, and I got everything chopped up. I'm going to add olive oil, salt, and pepper, and I left the carrots whole because they look so cute, and they actually turned out amazing. The pumpkin raisin bread is all cooked, so I'm going to let that cool, and I'll put one in the freezer, and then we'll just enjoy one of those for the week. All right, I'm just gonna check on the roast. I think it's done. It's been cooking for a good 5 hours. So just check to see how tender it is. It's looking pretty good. So I'm gonna get the carrots and the beets out of the oven, and then we're gonna get dinner served. I love making dinners in the crock pot. It makes it so it's pretty much hands-free. You just set it and forget it, and then you come back to a really beautiful, tasty meal. This is what the carrots and beets look like. It's definitely as colorful as it was tasty. We'll definitely be having a lot more roasted carrots this month. This was definitely a hit. We'll be doing this again someday. And I'm going to keep my carrots in the garden as long as I can because they're really better fresh. I like them straight out of the garden into the oven. I also harvested a couple more pumpkins. I think there's only a few little ones left, but they look like they're ready to be harvested, so I got her done. And when the time comes, I will probably be canning these up. So I'll probably pressure canning these. Our tomatoes are finally getting a steady trickle out of the garden, so I kind of pick them when they're blush. And I got some more zinnia heads. I wait till they're all dry and then I'll pluck them off and cure them, and then I'll put them in a jar. But my tomatoes, I'm just going to store them in gallon bags and then wait till I get enough and then process them. And I'm trying to think of ideas and what I want to do with them. So let me know in the comments what you think I should do with my tomatoes out of my garden. My little bunny buns are doing so good. They're very healthy and they are being so sweet to let me hold their little paws and pet them. So they're definitely getting more used to us. These are the tomatoes that I had harvested the other day, so they're ready to go in the freezer. For dinner on this night, I decided that I was going to make a casserole, but first I was going to slow cook chicken in some bone broth and a couple packets of fajita seasoning that I got at the grocery store. And with that, I was going to make a casserole. So in the casserole, I'm just going to have some garden goodies, and of course I'm going to have cheese on top. So I'm going to get that going in the slow cooker, and then we'll come back and make the casserole. So outside we have a few compost piles, and in this one I have a beautiful nasturtium growing just out of nowhere. But it's so cute, and I had to show you guys that. I definitely think it's really magical that plants can just find their way out of nowhere, and all of a sudden you'll have a volunteer flower or plant out of nowhere. So this is just my wildflowers that I planted. This is one of the only ones that came up. I think it's so pretty. So I'm going to try to let it go to seed, and then I'll plant some more in different places. In the same garden bed as my wildflower there, I have this dill plant, and I'm going to be harvesting that as soon as it actually matures into having the little seeds on the end. And I have a couple sunflowers that survived the deer, so I get to enjoy those. Those are definitely beautiful, and the bees and the hummingbirds are enjoying them, as well as those beautiful monarch butterflies. So here I let my stinging nettle go to seed, and I'm going to harvest those today as well, and I plan on drying them and making a tincture with those. These are the flower of the loofah plant. So this is the bloom that'll come out first, and then the loofah will grow on that. And I have a few in my garden that I wanted to show you. These are a couple cabbages that have a really long way to go. I might not get them, but wishful thinking. Hopefully they'll get much bigger. But these are my loofah, and I have a whole bunch. They're all hiding. But hopefully I'll get a nice harvest this year. Over here I have some of my pepper plants and eggplants as well. So that's my first jalapeno pepper. I thought that was cute. And I notice I'm getting some eggplant flowers. So maybe I'll be able to get a couple small eggplants this year. But that looks like a beautiful star. And then I have one of my Amish peppers. Those are really hot. And then I have a couple of green bell peppers. And those I was going to stick in my chicken in the slow cooker just to add more flavor. Here I have a couple of baby broccoli starting to show themselves. So that's really exciting. Hopefully we'll get some florets this year. When I was peeking at the broccoli, I noticed another loofah, and it's actually one of the biggest ones in the garden. And then I did notice the bees are really enjoying the mint flower. I was hoping for that. I've noticed that the hummingbirds are coming around, and I'm still getting some monarch butterflies. This is my marshmallow plant. So I let it go to seed, and I'm going to be using the seeds to plant for next year. So you use marshmallow, the root, and you can use the whole plant for medicine, and it's a mucinogenic, so it kind of lubes up all of your insides. It's good for making cough drops. This is my echinacea, which is a purple coneflower. That's good for immune boosting. And this is the state of my garlic bed right now. I planted zinnias. I plan on taking them inside and enjoying them once they are bloomed. I wanted to give a quick update on my little chickies. They're doing very well and fitting in. So they finally accepted them about a week ago, and they are queens in there now, and they're ruling the roost. This is the harvest that I got today, just a little harvest. I have a few peppers there, some German chamomile. I got my first jalapeno pepper, my second Amish pepper, and then we've gotten a few green peppers this year. And here is my marshmallow seeds. I plan on planting those all around the house because it's good to have extra marshmallow root for making teas and cough drops and whatnot. And here I have my stinging nettle, and I will be making a tincture out of that. And that is for kidney health and urinary tract health and boosting your immunity and whatnot. So I just tied the stinging nettle, the whole plant, and then I hung them up into 2 little bunches, and I'm going to let that dry and let that wilt really well before I make the tincture. I have a busy table right now. I have a bunch of seeds drying from my zinnia flowers, and I have my watermelon seeds. I also have cantaloupe seeds. That's from the cantaloupe and watermelon I purchased from the Amish. And right here is my German chamomile flowers for tea. And back here I have the marshmallow seeds drying, as well as the zinnia flowers drying. So I recently ordered a little kit so we could trim our little goaty girl's hooves. So there's a bunch of stuff in here, and I don't think I'm gonna need all of it. I know I'll need these trimmers and probably the file. But I figured I'd show you because we're gonna be trimming their little hoovies this week. And I'm sure they'll really enjoy that. I'm sure Tiana will scream her little lungs out, but that's okay. She's got to learn we have to trim her little hoovies to be able to take care of her little feet. I chopped up some of the peppers that I got from the garden and my garlic, and I also chopped up an onion, and I'm just going to add that into the slow cooker to continue cooking and making it more flavorful because I'm making a casserole with this. I want to be nice and flavorful, and then we'll put it together and pop it in the oven. I also decided I was going to add a few of these beans, so I've been getting some beans out of the garden, and I have some kale here. I'll probably put that in the casserole, and I'll sprinkle a little basil on top, so I'm just getting that out of the back garden. Because I'm letting my front basil plant, I'm letting that go to seed so I can plant some more for next year. So So those are really tasty and I love the way they smell. When I had the window open this summer, I could smell the basil. It was amazing. And I'm gonna cook those noodles, and right now I'm just gonna add all my greens, and then I'll add the beans to the casserole just before I put it in the oven. The slow cooker definitely saved me on this day, so I didn't have to hurry up and get the chicken cooked. It's been cooking all day, and then I can just get the noodles done and throw everything together and do a quick casserole. Sometimes after a really long day, I don't really want to cook after I get home from work, especially at 6, 7 o'clock at night. Sometimes I'll be cooking till 8 o'clock and we won't eat until 8:30, and I get really bad indigestion, so I like having things done so I can just have dinner on time. This is the other harvest of elderberries that we got. The kids are checking it out. I'm going to store those in the freezer until I make my elderberry syrup. Dinner is finally done. I love putting together just ingredients that you have around the house. It's super fun making new dishes like this. So the hubs really enjoyed dinner. I didn't think it was too shabby myself, so we'll definitely be putting this on the menu for a future meal. These are the 5 quarts of plums that I purchased from the Amish, and they taste amazing. I can't wait to make that barbecue sauce. And while I was there, I decided to get a watermelon and a cantaloupe, and I saved the seeds from that so I can plant them for next year. And I also received my vanilla beans in the mail, and this is one of the main ingredients in making your vanilla extract. You can actually reuse these beans and make another extract, so they have multi-uses. So the Amish woman and I like to barter and trade things, and I told her that I had a horrible toothache, and she gave me this amazing dental health tincture, and she told me there was 5 different roots in it, and then I could just put it on my tooth, swish around and swallow. So I can't wait to be using that when I get a toothache. And we decided to pop open the cantaloupe, and it was delicious. And these are the seeds that I saved from it, so I can let them cure, and then I'll put them in my container and I will label them and store them on the shelf for next year. On our way to go get our peach tree, we've seen these beautiful workhorses, and of course I had to call them over to me so they could come say hello. And they were a perfect gentleman. And now it is time to make the vanilla extract. Here I have a bottle of brandy, and then I have my vanilla beans. I believe there's 20 in there. So I just opened up the vanilla beans. I was gonna put them in whole, but I just decided at the last minute I should probably cut them in half so they don't pop out of the alcohol. And then I'm gonna let that sit for 4 to 6 months, and the more aged it is, the better it is in flavor. So it'll be more robust and you'll get that really beautiful vanilla flavor. And if you're a baker, you know what I mean. And it's really better on your pocketbook or your wallet that way. I only spent $30, and y'all know the prices on vanilla extract. Those little bottles are about 20 to 30 bucks and sometimes even higher. So that's why I like making my own. And this is going to be my oregano tincture. So this is really good for respiratory health as well as boosting your immunity, and has a lot of other health benefits. And then right here I have my cheap bottle of vodka. So I'm just gonna cut up the oregano plant into little bitty pieces, fill my jar, and this time I'm gonna treat it like a tincture. You see how the vanilla beans fell to the bottom? Well, here I'm gonna have to shake this 1 to 2 times a day for about 2 weeks, and then all the plant material will settle down to the bottom of the jar, and then I let it sit for about 4 to 6 months, and then we'll have it in our Homestead apothecary for a few winters because it'll last for quite a long time. But it'll boost our immunity and help with respiratory health, so that is definitely exciting. And don't forget to label, because you will definitely be confused with all of the green tinctures. Probably not so much with the vanilla one, but if you label it, you will definitely thank yourself later. So let's get started in making my plum barbecue sauce. And I'm getting the recipe from this book. I was supposed to use apricots, but I fit in what I had in the house, and I had plums. And it is from this book, The Hands-On Home, A Seasonal Guide to Cooking, Preserving, and Natural Homemaking by Erica Stravis. And I actually got this second hand on Amazon, so it was actually kind of cheap and a really good price for this girl. So I took all of the pits out, and I got around 6 pounds. So that means I'm just going to double that recipe. Here are all the pits. That took a little bit to do, but it's definitely worth it. And what I added was 4 tablespoons of garlic. I had this packet of bell peppers that I had gotten from Aldi's and I froze. And I also have 2 onions in there, and I got that all cooked up and zipped up with a stick blender, and I let that cook for at least 25 minutes to thicken it up. And once that was the thickness that I wanted, I'm getting it into my pint jars. And this is a little sticky, but I tried it and it is so delicious. I can't wait to have it on our chicken tonight. So I decided that I was just going to slather it on all the leftover, because I would have had 8 jars, but I used half a jar and the leftover barbecue sauce that was in the pan, and I put it on the chicken, and I got that in the oven. And now I'm getting these jars in my steam canner, and I was going to steam can them for at least 20 to 25 minutes. So the chicken is all done. It looks amazing and it tastes amazing, and I'm just gonna serve it on some rice, and I'm gonna have the hubs cook that for me. This is one of our fruit trees. The hubs had to dig a hole, so now we're just letting the roots soak for a little bit, and then we are going to get that in the ground. And we got a few bags of soil, and we also have some wooden stakes, because the hubs is going to make a fence around it to guard around the deer. And then I was just showing you the name of the peach tree. And then we have 2 different types of soil. We have potting mix for in-ground plants, and then just a random garden soil for in-ground plants. So she's all planted, and now we just have to put her to bed this winter and guard her from the plow and the deer. So we have quite a bit of work to do, but it'll be worth it. While I was checking on the peach tree, I decided to harvest a little batch of tomatoes, and I'll put these on the windowsill to cure. So far, I froze 1 gallon bag of my garden tomatoes, so I'm probably gonna wait till I have at least 4 to do something with them. And I'm also going to be saving some of the seeds, so I'm going to let them cure and then slice them open and squeeze some seeds over a pot of dirt, and then I'll pop those in the basement, and those will be seed security for next year. We did that last year, and those are the tomatoes in the back a wooden garden, so they're doing really well, and they're still green, but hopefully they'll be ripening up really soon. And that's it, friends. That's all I have for this week. I hope you're having a wonderful week, many blessings, and I'll see you on the next one, friends.